my goblins and ghouls, my name is Steven, and today we're working on the Piggyback board.
Steven, what's the Piggyback board?
Well, I'm glad you asked. The Piggyback board is gonna let the feeder talk to OpenPNP. I need some way to give a signal to the feeder, hey, I need you to move forward so I can grab the next component with the nozzle. And being able to do that with 30 feeders is a huge pain in the butt. So I'm gonna make a custom circuit board that's gonna handle all of that stuff. And I called it the Piggyback board because it like piggybacks onto the functionality of whatever. I'm not gonna justify it. It's a weird name. All right, so how is this gonna shake out? OpenPNP can talk to a whole bunch of different things over USB, so at the very least, I need a chip that's gonna talk over USB back to my computer. But getting that chip to talk to 30 feeders, that's hard. At first I looked at stuff like I2C or I2C, which is a communication protocol that a whole bunch of microcontrollers have. It lets a whole bunch of different chips talk together on the same bus. The same two wires are connected across all the chips, and they can all talk with each other. It's really cool, but the problem is, I wanna be able to make these feeders really easily interchangeable. If I'm making a whole bunch of glow ties and I run out of LEDs, I wanna be able to just have an extra feeder and boop, pop it right in, and it doesn't skip a beat, it just keeps on going. So instead of actually talking to the feeders, I need to talk to the ports, the little slots that they slide into. That needs to be the thing I address, the position, not the feeder. So I2C is out. But what I can do instead is just take a couple pins from the microcontroller on the Piggyback board and put it up to where the feeder interfaces into the machine. Then I can just have that chip flip those pins a couple times in a fancy order, and then the feeder will go, oh hey, that's me, I should feed tape forward. It doesn't matter which feeder is in that slot, it just matters the position. And that's exactly what I want. Okay, so if I want 30 feeders, oof, that's a lot of pins. Okay, so how do I get more pins? Well, turns out there's this super cool thing you can buy called an I/O expander. It's pretty much a chip that has a whole bunch of pins, and you can tell it what to do with those pins. So if I have a whole bunch of these chips, I'll have enough I/O to talk to 30 feeders. So I'm gonna give 2 GPIO pins from each I/O expander to the feeder for communication. Do you remember a couple episodes back where I said I developed my own communication protocol? Well, that's what it's gonna use. I'm not gonna go into the weeds on this right now. I'm gonna put it at the end of the video because it's really nitty gritty. Now I've already done the whole design for this board and here it is. I think it looks pretty cool. And if I just, there we go. Yeah, nice finished board. Alright, come on. Maybe I try burning the bootloader again? Alright, come on. Please show up. What am I doing wrong? That last clip was 12 hours ago. I was trying to get USB working natively on the ATmega32U4 and I just couldn't get it to work. I was working on it for literally 6 hours and I could not get it to go. I could not get it to connect. And eventually I just threw in the towel, gave up, and like went to bed. And this morning I was just walking around my apartment making a cup of coffee and I realized, the U-cap pin is pulled high and it shouldn't be. And then I scrambled on in here and I desoldered that pin and guess what? It worked. Sometimes the hardest thing to do when you're up against a problem with a project is to walk away from it. When you're leaving something hanging, it's not resolved, the last thing I want to do is stop working on it. I don't want to give up until it's done. But sometimes that's the best thing to do, is just call it quits for a second, let your brain think about it, and come back to it later. Anyway, USB is working beautifully now, so that means it's time to move on to the I/O expanders. Let's solder them up. Whoo! the challenges continue. I have the MCP 23017 all soldered up on the board, and I should be getting this little 1 on my serial monitor switching to 0 when I connect 2 pins together. It's pretty much doing a digital read, but through the I/O expander. So I'm kind of pressing the button and grounding that pin and trying to see if I can get it to switch from a 1 to a 0, but it just won't do it, and I don't know why. I thought this was gonna be a home run, like a super easy board. Oh, it's been so many hours of debugging already, and I'm barely halfway through building it up. That's what I have. That's what I have. I pull reset high. What? Oh my gosh, I didn't. Okay, all right, that's it. This better frickin' work. Because if this doesn't work, I have no idea what it is. Come on, baby. Yes! The beautiful 0! Oh, yes! Oh, finally. And it's just because I forgot to pull that stupid pin high. Oh, I gotta record this. Oh my god, I'm still recording. It works now. But I guess you saw that. I forgot to pull the reset pin high, so the whole chip was just like floating in this amorphous reset state. I just didn't read the datasheet well enough to know to pull it high. So I just bodged a little wire on here. See that janky little thing? That wire is just pulling the reset pin high to another place I found 5 volts on the board. And that way the chip won't reset all the time and it'll actually stay on, and it works beautifully. Cool, they work. These chips work. That's so cool. All right, cool. I'm gonna solder the other 2 on there and then put all these stinking little connectors on it and then get it controlling a feeder. Baby. Oh, what a relief, what a relief. You see these little pads right here? These are solder selectable jumpers. And if you close a certain pattern of these little jumpers, it's actually setting the address for each one of these chips. Addresses in like Bill or Martha or the names that we're calling these chips in order to address them properly. That sets that number inside the chip. So each one of them, I'm gonna solder a different set of jumpers so they all have different names. It works! I can now control the feeder from my computer. This is exactly what I want OpenPNP to do. Send a command over USB to the Piggyback, and then the Piggyback takes it from there and talks to all the feeders. Obviously, I only have 1 feeder hooked up right now because I've only made 1 feeder, but there's nothing keeping me from plugging in another 31 feeders. And this will be able to tell them what to do, no problem. Now, I haven't implemented my communication protocol yet because that's a lot of programming and I'm only like halfway through it. Right now, it's just sending like a single pulse over. And when the feeder sees the pulse, it just moves forward 1 component. But the infrastructure is there to have a whole communication protocol between this guy and this guy. So I can just send... If I just send any serial command over to this board, it'll read it and then send that command back out to the feeder. Oh man, so cool, so cool. A lot of you said in the last video that you wanted to see how the communication protocol is gonna work. So before I wrap this video up, I'm gonna dive into that. Protocol time. Alrighty, we've got 2 wires we're working with here. We're gonna call them CLO and DAT for clock and data. First, I need to check my notes to see how the heck I even did. Okay. Sweet. So both the feeder and the piggyback board share these two pins. They're usually pulled high to 5 volts. When one of them wants to send a message to the other one, they pull clock down. Let's say it's the piggyback board trying to tell the feeder to move forward tape. Sick. Now the piggyback board's gonna hold clock down for a really long time, waiting for the feeder to respond. I'm trying to design this so that if one party is busy, the other one will wait almost indefinitely for the other one to finish up whatever they're doing. I'm trying to make it very accommodating. So the piggyback's sitting there waiting for the feeder to respond, and when it finally gets around to saying, yep, I hear you, I'm ready for a message, it pulls data low to tell the piggyback board that. And it's just a really quick pulse, just enough to tell the piggyback board, I'm ready for your message, I'm listening. Then the piggyback board pulls clock back up. So now everyone's on the same page, feeder's ready for a message, and piggyback's ready to send it. Then comes the data. Then the piggyback board sends out 8 clock pulses. Is it 8? And while it's sending those pulses, it's also changing what the data line is during each pulse, and that's the data. So for the first clock pulse, if the piggyback board pulls data low, that's a 0. If it pulls it high, that's a 1. So the feeder's listening on every clock pulse, it checks the data line and sees what value's there, and then it stores that as a bit of data. And it does that for all 8 bits. This sweater is really hot. And bam, there they are. But if I'm the piggyback board and I just barfed out all this data, I don't know if the feeder really received it. It did say it was listening back with this little acknowledge beep back here, but I don't know if it actually received the data. So there's one more pulse. The piggyback board actually puts out 9 pulses, and this last one is an acknowledge pulse. If the feeder received all the data correctly and it understands what it got, it needs to pull the data line low for this 9th clock pulse. If it does, the piggyback board knows, sweet, they got it all. They have all the data, we're set. I don't need to resend that. If they don't get the acknowledge and the pin doesn't come low, the piggyback board knows there's a problem and it needs to resend the message. Whew, that's pretty much it. 2 pins, bi-directional communication, a little bit of confirmation that the data got across okay, but I think this is gonna work pretty well for what I want it to do. Now, as for what's in these 8 bits, it can be anything I want. If I have the piggyback board send the feeder 10110110, that could mean move forward 2 components. It could mean what's your status? It's anything I want it to be. This is just the way the data is sent back and forth between the 2 boards. Yeah, that's it. Oh, right, and I'm calling it Ring. Ring, my backronym for Ring is Readiness Intentioned Numerical Grammar. Which is just such a corny name, but it's readiness intentioned because it will hold this clock pulse low for a really long time, waiting for the other chip to respond. Its intention is to make sure the other party is ready. I have no idea if I really needed to do this. I'm sure there was probably a different way I could have made this happen without it being so complicated, but honestly, this was so fun to figure out, and I'm in the middle of writing all the C code for it, and it's a blast figuring out how to turn this into code. Oh, so much fun. Anyway, that's it for this one. The next one will probably be rebuilding the entire pick and place from scratch so that the nozzle can actually pick components off the feeders. And then after that, who knows? It's probably gonna be, well, what is it gonna be? We'll see, I don't know yet. I now have a Patreon, so if you'd like to support me there, there's a link in the description where you can become a patron. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.